Hello and welcome to episode 48 of building a multiplayer 2D game in Flutter. In the last episode, we basically implemented players dying. We basically detected if the player had a health of 0 or less. We basically swapped it out with a skull. However, the player could still move and still shoot, and obviously that skull is really temporary. It's not very pretty at all, but for our purposes, it is enough. So what I did in this case here, while we were starting the video, I basically changed the level to only have one player, and I'm about to change the player hits wall factor to really, really high, so we can basically make the player die immediately without having to run two players and shooting at each other. And basically the idea is that I want to fix a problem. I want to basically to restart the server quickly, try it out quickly. Basically on the server we need to prevent the client from shooting and or even rotating. So we prevented the client from moving, but the client can still, even if dead, the client can still move and rotate and even shoot people. So let's see, when we now hit a wall, we should die immediately. Whoop, why? Okay, we need to make this probably bigger. Let me actually do that. This is not... Let me make it 5,000. So restart the server. Hard restart the client. And now we should basically die immediately if we hit something. Okay, so you see how we converted to a skull. Not pretty, as I mentioned. And as you can see, we can still rotate. Rotate might be fine, but we definitely shouldn't be able to shoot others while we're dead. So let's go into the game controller and figure out why this is going on. So basically, when we update the players in the player controller, right, we are saying if the player is dead, return. So that's basically for the updating the player position and all these things. However, somehow the player can still rotate, because that's something slightly different. When we basically rotate, that is taken care of by something else. Basically, that's taken care of by the inputs. So here we have... actually, let me look and where that is. So we have the client game. That's not where I need to look. I need to look here. The client game. And in there, basically in the update, we have these game gestures, right? And so we update the input synchronizer for the client player. And when that runs on the server, we update from that. So what we basically need to figure out, so we could say, well, here on the client, we just don't submit any inputs, right, if the player is dead. However, that's not ideal, because then we would not prevent cheating. So what we actually need to do is we need to look on the server side. So I'm going to start looking in the game loop, and we need to look at where this synchronization is happening. So it's not happening here, but it's happening somewhere on the game. So let's actually then open the service and look at where we are handling these streams that come from the client. So here we have the sync client game states, right? And here we have the requests, and here we're listening, and here we're processing the client event. And basically, if the client is dead, we should just basically not listen to it anymore, because here we can see that we're syncing player inputs of the client ID. And then here we have sync player inputs. And so that's basically where we need to do. And we need to figure out if that player is dead or not. So this goes to the game controller. Okay. So here basically we need to determine if the player is dead, or we have this is dead. We made a separate method somewhere. Is dead. Okay. Where did we add this? Nope, we didn't. So we didn't want to add that directly to the player model. I can't remember where we added this. Player status. Okay, so we have, yeah, okay, so we have this. Basically, we want to copy the second line here, right? So we're just going to do that. So obviously here we need to now add another line. So here we get this player status. And that should be fine, right? So basically now we sync in the player inputs, and if the player is dead, we just don't sync anything. That also means we don't shoot a bullet anymore. So that should fix that. Let's restart server. Let's restart the client. And we did, and it looks like we introduced an error. Okay. Missing a semicolon, and now let's, okay, we need to restart the server. Okay. So now I can still rotate for some reason, and I can still shoot. Why is that? Or maybe that's happening on the client as well. Right, we are applying the rotation immediately, right? That's right. So basically right now, I bet you that if we would have two players, we would not. So you can see that, oh, see the server keeps pushing us back, right? See that? So we're trying to rotate, but the server is actually not accepting, and we can shoot, but this is only happening on the client. You can, I'm pretty certain of that. So what we need to actually do is, we need to go to the client game again, and we need to fix it there as well. So when we're dead, we don't want to look like we're even rotating. So in the update, so you have the client player, right? So who cares what we pressed if, right, the player status of the client player is dead, return, right? And so now if you hit restart and we hit a wall, now I can't aim. Okay, now obviously obviously I was applying thrust when I was dying. So when we die, that's an interesting one. So basically this might not be good enough the way we did this. We basically still need to do I wonder why we're making our lives a little harder actually, because the thing is that we still want to, I mean, player's dead, right? We could just also remove him, or basically we're going to have a game over screen anyways. So the main thing actually we need to make sure is that on the server we are preventing this. But right now I'm changing this to update also. So let me just refresh this quickly. Okay, or let's do a hot restart. And let's hit a wall. Okay, yeah. Now I can't move because I had this upside down or reversed. Okay, cool. So now if we hit something, okay, cool. Now let's do this again. I want to make sure that the thrust goes away. So if I just keep applying thrust when I hit the wall, it seems to work. Not 100% because it might just be that the thrust wasn't there at that moment, but this seems to work. So basically now we prevent the player from moving. It shows up at the skull. The skull will improve later on. We just have to switch out the sprite, and then we're good to go. So that kind of is something that I wanted to do, and so we already finished that one. Okay, but we can't check in everything. So basically now on the on the game props, we don't want to check that in because that basically was just to basically die faster. We don't want to check that in. The simple we might not want to check in either. So let's just check in the client game and the game controller. Okay, and so that would be player when that can no longer rotate or shoot. Okay, so that is kind of nice. Let's think about what else we need to do. I mean, what we could start doing is we could implement something. We could implement a game over screen, right? So there are other things that are obviously like things that we can do. We can, for instance, some things I wanted to do is we can get a health packet, right, to up our health again. When we got shot, we can collect one. We can also implement something where we have here an indicator of when we can shoot again, right? So basically, when we let me just restart this. When we basically are running around here. Or like even applying thrust, we cannot just keep applying thrust. Oh, it just okay, it didn't pick that up for some reason. That's really weird. Yeah, we set it back to 50. Okay, but it didn't pick it. That's not a problem though. But what I was trying to say was that whenever we apply thrust, we have a delay between thrusts that we can apply. Right, we have to wait a little bit until we can apply thrust again. So that one we could indicate here, and we could also indicate when we can fire again. Because I'm gonna do a hard restart, and I'm just gonna show the firing. So basically, when we fire, even if I hold my spacebar pressed, you can see that there is a. And so if I do this, sometimes I might not. And if I hit this on the phone, it would also like not always fire when we hit it. So we might want to indicate that here, right? So that's one. That's another thing that I may want to do. But right now, what I want to do is I want to get this to where you could say this is a finished thing, and people could play this. So what we need to do, we need to have a game over screen, and we need to basically on the server implement something where once all the players are dead, the game is declared over, right? So those are two different things. So let's just close this actually. So we basically preventing the player from moving, and we just added this to the client. But obviously, if you have a game over screen, then that's no longer an issue anyways. So what I want to do is I want to go to our widgets. I want to create a quick game over screen. So we have the widgets HUD, and I want to add a new folder. See if it lets me do this like this. Widgets, and I want to have it a game over. Okay, so let's see what our naming convention was. Call everything widget. Okay, good. So basically, we're going to create a new Dart file called game over widget. And we're going to create a stateless widget. Yeah, we need to import these things. And so now basically all we're going to put here for now is a text. Text, and it's going to say game. And so basically what we're going to do, we're going to first figure out to only show that when the game is over, and then we're going to make it nice. So we're going to go functionality first, and then make it pretty. So let's actually close this here. And so here we already have the stack view. So we can render things on top of each other. So the canvas where the game is actually happening is on the very bottom. The our stats are basically on top. That's like that bar on top that's kind of half see-through. And then here we're going to put our game over widget. And basically the idea is that it will cover everything. The thing is though that it might be actually tied also to the game stats, right? Because we need to know if the game's over, but we'll do that in a second, right? Because we can look at the player health and determine, okay, we need to show the game over screen. And the game over screen will have like ways to restart the game and stuff like that. So that's that. And so now we always show this. So if I start this again, we should actually already see the game over screen immediately. And what we'll do is we need to make it where it only shows up whenever we actually dead. The thing is that I don't know if I want to just implement the stream builder again, put it down here. So we see the game over here, right? So it's showing. So what we're working on now is we want this to not show up anymore, basically, because we are not dead yet. Let's think about this. So we could add it here. We could make another stack thing. I mean, that it would just really be for not having two streams, but from the UI standpoint, I actually like this better. Where basically we just replace this with game over widget, and the game over widget will have to take stats. Don't need this. So basically then we say that actually the game over widget doesn't have to take the stats, because we will not show it at all. I mean, right? So it's kind of like, actually in the way now I'm thinking that maybe what I thought before would make sense, because the HUD widget, we're showing if the player is actually still alive. So we could say stats.player, what? Snapshot, okay, snapshot data dot health is greater than 0. We show the HUD widget. Otherwise, we show the game over widget. That is actually cleaner. I like that more. Even though the game over doesn't really have anything to do with the stats, but we could say, well, we're gonna wrap the HUD widget in a game running thing and then have the game over thing, right? Does it make sense? So, and actually what we're going to do is we could pass these stats in here, and we could say, I don't know, you got this many points, right? The stats may have points in the future. Okay, this I actually like. So now if I refresh this, now the game over goes away, right? Now if I die, and okay, so now I died immediately. Now we see the game over. And for some reason we still die quickly. I'm not even sure why. Because we changed the game props to not have this huge factor. So I'm not even sure what's going on. Why this is still like, okay. But this is actually useful in the moment, so we'll leave it. We won't touch it. So okay, so we got the game over widget. The game over widget actually now, so now we can actually work on this. We actually won't touch the game now. We'll just make this huge container that will fill everything. And we can basically steal some ideas here on there to see like how did we get the HUD widget to span the whole width, right? So we made a container and we had the main axis element space between. So, but what we'll do first, we're going to put a background here on this container. Hello. Is it color? Okay. So color, and again, we're going to steal something from our HUD widget because we already have it. Okay, let's see. Okay, that's what I wanted. And then we just need to find the game over widget here. Okay, cool. So here we have this color, and it's kind of nice. So we actually want to be So now we do this, and so we can see that we're only stretching this far. So I want to basically have something that stretches the entire screen, right? So let's try to find that. Flutter. Take full width, for instance. So this is interesting. Is this? So we have a center thing. And we could wrap it in a quick center and see if that actually works, but I doubt it. And I forgot my shortcuts. Why can't I? Okay. So I'll do it manually. There was a way to just say I want to wrap it in another. Okay, let's see. Okay, so now it's in the center, but it's definitely not filling. It's good though to have it in the center, right? Because we want it centered. So now just around the center, we basically need to figure out how can we make it to where it fills the whole width. That's not what you need. Still not what we need. This is very nice and detailed, but it's not constraints. Maybe this is what we need. I saw another answer that just has exactly what we need, maybe. Sized box. Okay, so let's wrap it with that. All right. But then maybe the size, but then we can't probably have the center. So let's just get rid of that. Okay, so that's what we want, right? And now we can actually, inside the container, we can put this in the center. Like this, and we make this a child. And there's a better way to deal with, okay, so that's good. So we got this, there's a better way to do this with Flutter. I just can't remember the keyboard shortcut right now. So there's a way to say wrap with widget and stuff like that. So maybe that's the refactor thing. Yeah, it doesn't allow. I'm not remembering what keyboard shortcut I had here. It's not important right now. But basically, we have this thing. It covers everything. It kind of indicates, hey, you're dead. You can't do anything anymore. We need to have this game over a little nicer. So let's put a style, text style, and in here we're gonna see what we can do. It's a font family. Well, not important. We just make the font large. Font size, we make it, I don't know, ridiculously large. And the font weight, we're going to make it bold. Nope. Bold something. All right. Let's see. Okay, that's not big enough, right? It should be really well. I mean, we have to think about if it's on the phone, right? So it should it should probably still fit on the phone. Okay. Now we want to have the color to be red something. Colors dot red. That's good. So that's basically the it's just basically the game over screen. And what we want to do also is we want to have a button that says I want to restart the game. And then we have to see how we can actually hook this up. So probably below this. So we actually want to do something like a column. So this is centered, and actually in here we want to have a column. Instead of having a text directly, we want to have a column. And again, this is like nicer done with the helper functions. I'm having to do this manually right now because I just can't figure out how to do this a proper way. Let's see what else is going on. This is part of this. Oh yeah, so this one actually needs to be here. Okay, so there's still some confusion. So these are the children. This is from the text. Okay, so it needs to be actually after the text. And it's still not happy. Let's see, we got the child, which is a column. Okay. Now the color would go into the container. So we'll probably go here. All right. So now we have a column, and you can see the children are, it's now on top. So you want to have a alignment property. Main axis alignment, and it can, we're gonna put it space evenly maybe, or make it center. That's fine. And restart. Okay, so now the game over is here, and this doesn't have to be too pretty. We just want to get the functionality still worked out. So we got the center, and then we have this in the column, blah blah, and now we just need to put a button here. Button. What? Oh, we need to have this in here. No, I just want to have a normal button. So let's just, if you can see, I haven't done this for a while. We were doing so much with the canvas that I totally have forgotten how to do things in Flutter. Raised button. I think this is something we want. Yeah, so let's just do a raised button. On pressed, for now we're going to say we have our log thing, so we want to actually get our log in here. All right, and what else is it whining about? Okay, let's just semicolon. Okay, still whining. Yeah, why are you so worried about now this unused element? So we're gonna do log pressed new game, and then we have a label here, or I guess it's a child. Text new game. Oh, I know why, because this is actually log. That's why. Okay, so this one doesn't invoke to whatever, so let's see. We have to do it this way then. And then this one has to be log.info or something. All right, so expected to find, okay, we need a semicolon. All right, now I can say new game, press on it, and it should have printed new game. Let's see in the, where's our log thing? Oh, it should be here on the client. Game over, press new game. Okay, so we got the new game. I think kind of working. So now what all we need to do is basically go and raise that event to our Batufo main file here, which I'm going to open on the other side here, if it lets me. All right, so let's see. So here we're creating this game over widget. And then we need to basically have a way to say, oh, well, or we can say we have a running game here. So the other one was a waiting game, right? So this is game over. It's a little different. So basically what we need to do is somehow communicate here. We want to start a new game. And we did do that. We created a new client here. And then that would create a new game. Right? So what we're going to do, we're going to create a method that makes us start a new game. I mean, this is kind of all really dirty in a way because we're doing this all inside this main app state thing. Would be much easier or cleaner at least to have it outside of something and basically communicate that this was pressed and then have maybe a stream fly in, like stream values come in and basically have the game restarted and do all this logic outside of here. But for now, we just want to get this to work. So so for now, we basically need to just pass a button to this. Nope, I didn't want to do that. I want to just pass a button to this that will, like not a button, but a command basically, right? Function new or new game requested. Right, and so this one would be passed in. And let's call it on. Oh no, actually this one be new game requested, and over there we call it on. So here we basically on press we just say on a new game requested. Okay, so and this is not happy because argument of type function be assigned to void function. So okay, let's just look at how this is declared. Void callback. So it's that. So maybe we can actually even use void callback if it's available to us. Okay, it seems to be available. So so now it's happy. Okay, cool. And so now what we need to do here, we need to pass in this void callback, and we put it here, and we're gonna forward to the outside world that this was requested, meaning to the parent widget, right? So then we can. So this is required. And even though it will not kick in right away, but here actually does with a warning. So this is nice. So we can say new game requested on new game requested. And I have no idea what's going on again. I think OBS is again torturing my machine. Hello, so we are back. I'm still not 100% happy with the performance, but it is somewhat better than before. So let's just continue. Basically, all we want to do is to launch a new game, and I want to see if that actually works. So all we have to basically do is here pass the same void callback in, right? And add that here as a required thing, and basically just forward things. Obviously there are more elegant solutions to this, but this is simple enough for now. So now basically here we can just say on your game, and why I'm still doing this way is in case we want to add logging and stuff like that. I still want to have an indirection here. I don't want to just reach out directly to the callback that we are getting passed in. So now the running game that gets created here. And so now here, basically, we are already in this place where we would want to restart this game. So we're going to put a void restart game. Or let's just say new game. start new game, right? And in there, basically, we're going to do this. We're going to do both of this here. And make this async. And obviously here now we have to await it. And so this is our start new game. So here all we have to do is, so this one doesn't have the right signature. We need to say on new game requested. And like it seems like it's a bunch of indirections, but it's worth it if you want to actually add logging to this. So basically now we can say start new game, and you can see these things are getting slow again. All right, thank you. That was super fast. And then we can go ahead and say on new game. I think what's it called, right? Or do you just call it new game requested? This is it might be a mixture of OBS and IntelliJ. So new game requested, that's what we call it. New game. We're just going to do it without IntelliSense. Requested on new game. So hopefully this works, because as we can see, my machine doesn't want to do any more work. It should have reformatted. I'm not sure why it doesn't reformat. Okay, it doesn't seem to want to reformat. Whatever. There's just a warning here to avoid these lines. Yes, and if you would just reformat like you're supposed to, then everything would be happy. Okay, but what we want to do, we're just going to restart this now. And if this is working, we should. Okay, so we got something. It could be because we actually need to do a hard restart at least. Let's see. It's funny that OBS claims it's using only 20% of CPU, where I know for a fact it's using more. Or at least like indirectly, right? So it says 100 here, right? And in the OBS it tells me 16, or it's like 200 whatever, right? So OBS is not quite truthful about this. Okay, so we need to figure out how to hit the wall now. Okay, now we got the game over screen. Now we can click on this, and we got something happening. So no such method here. Let's see. This is interesting. So basically what's happening is we're still updating. We need to actually stop our game first. We need to basically have something in here that stops everything in the client game. So the error happened here on 105. We see in the update UI, since we're still updating there, because if we're dead, we still kind of want to see that other people are flying around. We want to kind of be sad that now we are dead and everyone else is still having fun. So why is this not reformatting? This is driving me berserk. It should be reformatting. That's why I put the extra comment in there, the comma. All right. So yeah, I usually one thing important is like never reformat your code manually. You have it set up to where it formats automatically. But you can see that IntelliJ is not happy. But okay, let's think about this. So basically, we need to have something where we need to signal to the game first that the game is basically. We need to declare the game dead. And actually, we probably should do this. Where are we doing this? Start new game. When we create client, right? We should probably. Or maybe we'll just do it here. We just say basically game dot done equals true. Okay, and so what we need to do here, have this. Oh, this is just horrible. We'll have to have a bool here. Done is false. Right, and then basically, wherever we update something, basically just need to go away. We just need to say if done return. It's almost like we want to dispose. That's actually really what we want to do. Okay, so that's actually much better. That's actually the pattern that we're trying to do. Void dispose. So basically, it's a private dispose was true, and then we can do more cleanup here. That's a better pattern. So we need to go back and remove this done thing. And then basically, instead of looking for done, we just look for disposed. So if disposed turn, and we need to do this everywhere where we're updating something. Right? So basically, the dispose will not happen right away when the player dies, but it will happen once we are about to what's going on here? I'm not sure why it's complaining. We'll figure that out in a second. Basically, we turn everything off. Okay, so dispose seems to be. Did we not add it yet, maybe? Oh, actually, we're going to be clean, and we're actually going to, once we start the game, or once we create this, we're going to say dispose is false. It's just really hard to code when it's lagging so bad. So I'm hoping that this will work, so then we can finish this episode, and hopefully next time OBS will be nicer to us. And so when we do this, we actually, instead of setting this to done, trying to true, we're going to say dispose, right? But actually we do this in start new game, which makes more sense. So okay, so this should work. So these are also way behind. How is this not? It's right here. Oh, I spelled it wrong. Okay. Okay, so now we should be happier. And now we can do hard restart. And hope that it's... Yeah, so this is... I think these are still like old errors that are happening from before. Oh, basically, oh yeah, no, actually, only if the game is not null, obviously. Right? I think that's what's actually happening. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure what's actually happening here. because we didn't really change anything about how the game starts. Nothing should have changed there at all. Okay, now it came up. Let's just clear this. Update price was called on null. Still getting this. Let's just die and see what happens. Okay. So now let's start a new game. Okay, this doesn't seem to want to be happening in this episode. The machine... Oh, it actually worked. See that? So I'm going to assume that worked. You see? Okay, so we got a new game started, right? Am I right? So I'm going to do this one more time. And if this works now, I'm going to just ignore the error message because I think they have nothing to do with right now. I have no idea what happened here. It's just really hard to debug this while the machine is so slow. And we're still getting this. So what I'm going to do is, what I normally wouldn't do, but I'm going to check in something that's, it's a little bit unfinished. That's what we're going to do for now. And we're going to just check this in. And then in the next episode, I'll make sure that this actually works. And then we're going to go to the server and figure out how can the server now react correctly to a client, basically, to a client not restarting a game, but to basically the game running out of players. Like if all the clients are dead, the game needs to be removed, right? We can't just leak games. Obviously, the other thing is if all the clients happen to be disconnected, or maybe two of them died and one is disconnected, we need to also handle that. But we'll do this step by step. So at this point, I'm going to check this and I'm going to tag this as episode 48. And I'll check this in. And I'm going to say, due to technical difficulties, we'll just live with the semi-completeness of this, and we'll continue this next time. Hopefully by then, magically, OBS will be friendlier to us, because it is still, even though if it denies it, let me see that, yeah, so this is just crazy. I mean, I don't even think that works. So, and the funny thing is, you can see this, but once I stop OBS, this kernel task also disappears. So this is all in the, now, this is all called by OBS. So I'm going to stop streaming. Thank you for watching, and I'm sorry for the technical difficulties, but next episode will continue as before, and we should be pretty much able to reach a working game by, let's say in 2 or 3 more episodes. So thank you for watching. Come back. Thank you.